Obviously, there's a massive storm, right? A massive storm came through, hit Florida, Hurricane Helene, hit Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Okay, and here we are. We're in Southwest Ohio, and also again East Tennessee as well. But we're in Southwest Ohio, and we actually got remnants from it, and plenty of people in our area were knocked out of power. It was very, very crazy. I didn't think it was going to be like that up here. We got a little bit of rain, and I don't know, 100,000 people lost power in the state, maybe. I don't know what it was. We got some rain out of it, sure. A few inches of rain, which we needed, and it just left my chicken coop in a mess. Just honestly, just water. And it's when you get a storm come through your area, whether it be a winter storm or a hurricane or a tornadic storm, whatever, when you get a storm come through and get a lot of water or snow dumped on your coop and your run, it can make things a little different for your chickens. Honestly, our run is in pretty good shape, but it does get just really wet. You know, it's soaking wet, and this time of year it's not really going to dry up too well. It's not muddy, but it is wet. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but chickens don't like to have wet feet. It drives them nuts. And honestly, Friday, so it's this past Friday when it came through here, it was we have our coop set up here in a certain specific way to where you can see the windows on that side right there. That's the east side, okay? Because we specifically made sure there was no windows on the west side or the north side, okay? That the only openings are on the south and east, because most of your winds come from the north and the west here. So especially in the wintertime, you don't want that drastically cold air blowing in in your coop, and so they'll be blowing in snow and whatnot, also blowing rain in the summer. So strategically, the windows are on the east and the south. Well, when you get a hurricane, it's counterclockwise, right? So the motion of the tropical low, by the time it gets here, is reversed. So all the water came from the other side. So it blew in on a section they're not used to it blowing in on as well. And so they got all day Friday, they got water blowing in the opposite way, so it actually made their coop wet as well, which our coop doesn't get wet. It's a solid floor, a lot of pine shavings. It doesn't get wet in there. So this whole scenario honestly stresses out your chickens when things like that happen. And when your hens are stressed out and they're laying eggs still, first of all, they might skip some time until they're over the stress. But also when they do lay, and here's one egg, here's an example of a stress egg. First of all, muddy. That's just mud feet, where she had muddy feet because wet run. But now let's see if we can get this here. See a broken band right there, and kind of broken right here a little bit. There's different kinds of stressful eggs as well. There's that, but like there's also like it's a rougher shelled, or maybe like a little white band around it. If it's supposed to be a brown egg, maybe like a little white band. People are gonna think it's like they ran out of ink. No, the chickens were under stress. Your hens were stressed out, you know, at some point in time before they laid that egg, and that stress inside of them causes their eggs to be different, whether or not it be broken, like it's kind of broken and healed over, kind of like this one was, or whether or not it's that banded off-colored look. If you see that, it means your hens are undergoing some stress from whatever reason. It could be weather related, it could be, you know, molt related, where they're getting ready to molt. It could be stress amongst the hierarchy inside of the flock itself, because you know there is pecking order. That's real. If they're kind of jousting for position inside the pecking order, they might kind of stress out over it. They might be stressed out over a predator attack or a near predator attack, or they're just seeing something like that. There's so many things that can cause them stress, and sometimes it's just health. Their health is causing stress. But so if you see that, that's an issue in itself. But like this scenario here, there's something we can do about that to keep them to get them back to normal, maybe to cause their stress to kind of alleviate that stress, right? So like after a storm of any kind, it's always good to make sure that your chickens are doing fine. And what we're going to do today is just some very simple measures that you can take after a storm, okay, after a rainy event. My parents took on 10 to 15 inches of rain, folks, okay, in western North Carolina. Then my dad had to put some stuff down for his chickens. Just plain and simple. And we only got a couple inches of rain, but we need to take care of them too. One of the first things we need to do is just get the pine shavings out of the coop that are still a little bit damp from the other day when that water came in and actually started running down the inside wall too. We gotta get rid of those shavings first. As you see there, I pulled these shavings out of the coop, right? So now those are fairly dry, but they may not be, maybe some of them are a little damp still, but it's drier than what's out here, right? So if you pull out the old shavings out of your coop that are still pretty dry and put them on your run, that's going to help your run out immediately, right? Because what happens here with this run, when it gets wet, obviously there's still going to be manuring in it, still pooping in it. This way it is. And when they start doing that, it's wet poop, and then it starts smelling. Honestly, our coop and run never smells. We have enough carbon. Okay, carbon is the wood. We have enough carbon to neutralize the ammonia smell, and so all this right here, it's all wet though. So it's basically it's absorbed all it can absorb. So it can no longer absorb more of the ammonia smell and all the manure. So you gotta add some carbon. Well, adding pine shavings out of that's a big deal. Looks like Tootie's already decided to make herself a home. I see automatically they got dry shavings and they're running straight to it. They hate having wet feet. That's just honest truth. They're gonna come out here in the grass and it can be a little wet. And they'll be fine for a little bit because they're outside running free, right? But they absolutely hate having wet feet, and so they're gonna get tired of it eventually and wanna go in quicker. But this right here, see, Tuesday even starting the dust bathing now. Very happy chickens. They go straight to it and start dust bathing. See a chicken dust bathing in a spot, they're happy with it. Truthfully, what I should have done first was put some of this down. That's sweet PDZ. It's actually made for horses, okay? It's made for horse stalls, but it works great for chicken coops. Just a little granular thing. See, nothing to it. Just a little granular thing, and you put it down, and it helps neutralize the ammonia smell. So I really truly should put it down underneath those shavings. I still have time to mix it in. It'd be just fine, but it really starts with neutralizing ammonia smell and start drying things up. It helps a lot. Anytime we use it in our coop, we use it in the run when it gets super wet. It helps so much to breaking down the manure and everything else. And we want to compost this anyways. Kind of starts to compost up too. We gotta be careful because the chickens are used to this being the treat when they see this plastic cup. They're used to that being food in there. Well, this isn't necessarily food. It ain't gonna hurt them if they happen to eat some of it, but you don't really want them pecking out thinking it's food. And just mix it in. See, it's really very simple. Just simple things like this to alleviate the stress in chickens, get them back to normal, get them back to being happy and active and content with their situation. Makes the whole flock better. And if they're still laying like this time of year, we still only have 4 chickens laying eggs right now. We need those 4 chickens to keep laying eggs for a little bit longer. So we do what we can to keep them from being stressed out. Now, a very simple idea. Once you get to this point, you've pulled those shavings out of the coop, put them out here in the run. You got drier shavings in the run now. It's going to start helping that dry out. Well, just pull your shavings back. What we're going to do here, I ain't going to show you. Ain't no point in it. I've showed you just the other day. Just pull the shavings back from out from under the roost, replace those, put your fresh shavings in there, and all of a sudden now you got fresh shavings in your coop, right? And that chickens and fresh shavings in the coop, they're so happy. And there it is. Look at that. Brand new shavings back there, much drier. Chicken's happy. They're already wanting to go in there, and it's a little too early to go in there. So you gotta take care of them, after these storms, after you get a rain event, after you get a hurricane, tornado, snowstorm, whatever. We love to have dry feet, and you got to get them back to a sense of normalcy and get them out of that stress environment. They'll be a lot better for it, and you'll be better for it too. So thank you guys so much for watching. Do appreciate it. My name is Jason. This is Art of Creation Homestead. We love y'all. God bless you, and goodbye.